It Ends With Us. Did the book or movie do it better? Let's dive in and analyze the crazy differences, what worked and what didn't work, and decide which version truly outshines. To start, let's talk about our main characters. The protagonist of the story is Lily Bloom, played by Blake Lively in the film. In the book, Lily is a young woman in her 20s, while in the movie, the character is a little older than that. In the movie, one of the major changes is the way she physically looks. In the book, she's described as having long brown hair and being quite attractive, even if she doesn't necessarily fit into the traditional ideas of beauty. She has a sense of strength and independence that was shaped by her complicated relationship with her father and her experiences with abuse. In the movie, Blake, with her long blonde hair and very polished appearance, presents a very different aesthetic for the character than what is described in the novel. This visual change alters some of that perceived vulnerability and relatability that Lily really embodies for readers of the novel. Now, let's get into our love triangle. How accurate is Atlas Corrigan, who Brandon Sklenar plays in the movie? Well, you see, in the book, his backstory is far more detailed, highlighting his struggles as a homeless teen and that intense bond that he shares with Lily. The film really doesn't have a chance to delve into Atlas's past that deeply, which kind of diminishes the emotional weight of his relationship with Lily. In the book, Atlas is described as tall and a muscular figure with dark hair, and while Brandon physically fits the bill, there's still a sense that his character is slightly underdeveloped when compared to how the character is in the novel. Now, what about Ryle Kincaid? Well, this one is pretty accurate for the most part. In the book, Ryle is a neurosurgeon who is portrayed as being incredibly handsome with dark hair and sharp features. He's initially seen as a very charismatic and ambitious figure, but later it is revealed to kind of be born from these deep emotional scars, and he has a very troubling temper. He's in his 30s in the book, and that is pretty much a match for how the film portrays him. In the movie, he's played by the film's director, Justin Baldoni, who is a solid choice in terms of the physical appearance. He's a real good match for how the book describes the character. But Ryle's complexity, and especially his more subtle flaws, might come across as a bit more surface level in the film compared to the book, where the layers of his emotional turmoil are more deeply explored. Now, let's dig into the plot differences between the novel and film adaptation of It Ends With Us. A major difference is the character arcs and the way they develop. In the book, Lily unfortunately experiences numerous instances of physical abuse from Ryle, and she recognizes Ryle's violent behavior and even warns him each time that she will leave him if it happens again. In the movie, however, she initially dismisses Ryle's first two acts of physical violence as merely accidents. She remains in denial until later in the film, when she finally begins to recognize the full extent of what is happening to her. But it's not only this. The journey of Lily's healing is much more internalized in the book. Her choice to break this cycle of abuse and make the painful decisions she makes about Ryle and Atlas are far more detailed. The book gives readers an intimate view into her emotional evolution, where the film isn't necessarily able to translate that visually. The film still captures Lily's emotional conflict, but the pacing leads to a far more abrupt resolution. The struggles between Lily, Ryle, and Atlas are once again simplified, and there's this real tendency to lean toward a more straightforward, happy ending, even if the book's conclusion leaves more room for interpretation for readers and focuses more on this personal growth for Lily. Another change that some moviegoers may not even be aware of is the fact that they chose not to include Ellen DeGeneres. Yes, that's right. That Ellen. She is a prominent figure in the book throughout Lily's life. As a young girl, she would rush home after school to watch her show, and she would even write entries in her journal about her, which Ryle would later discover to be in this format of letters written to the talk show host. As she and Atlas began to spend more time together, they bonded over watching Ellen's show together and having a shared love for the movie she was in, Finding Nemo, because after all, Ellen voices one of the characters, Dory. In fact, Dory's famous line, "just keep swimming," is a fan favorite line from the book too. But the creative team completely left Ellen out, and that line is nothing more than a poster on Lily's bedroom wall with a very similar saying. Oh, and let's not forget another change. In the book, Atlas names his restaurant Bib as an acronym for Better in Boston, an inside reference that only Lily would know. However, in the film, he names it The Root, in reference to a moment that he and Lily share as kids, talking about the strength of an oak tree. It's a subtle change, but still a rather recognizable one from the book. Now for the ending of It Ends With Us. In the book, the ending is very bittersweet, showing Lily's decision to choose herself over the unhealthy relationship she once had with Ryle. She chooses to rekindle her relationship with Atlas and start the next chapter of their lives together. It's a story about self-love and breaking free of generational trauma. While the film's ending takes some liberties with this message, it concludes on a far more positive note as Lily and Atlas are shown to be moving forward with their lives. This might not fully capture the book's essence of healing and independence, as it feels like a more open, optimistic future rather than one that is about this self-empowerment, which is emphasized in the novel. With all of that being said, let's continue looking into what worked and which elements were still inaccurate. The performances in the film really worked for me, especially Blake and Justin. Despite being older than she is in the novel, Blake still portrays Lily's vulnerability quite well, and the emotional moments between Lily and Ryle are still very impactful. But one element that didn't necessarily work in the movie is the fact that it doesn't delve deep enough into Lily's past trauma, especially with her relationship with her father. These flashbacks are a crucial part of the novel's emotional depth, and in the film they are mostly omitted, or they focus instead on how her father treated Atlas when they were children. And speaking of Atlas, his character is much less fleshed out in the movie, and the depth of his struggle is largely glossed over. In the book, his relationship with Lily comes across as being far more profound than what we see on the screen. I do want to highlight the cinematography in the film, as it was quite lush and appealing, and successfully created a very romantic feeling that helped audiences visualize the novel's more emotional beats. But the plot itself is much more condensed, and these important aspects of Lily's emotional growth are lost in this rush to move the story along. In the book, the development of her understanding of love and abuse is quite key, and the movie doesn't give it as much time to really grow. The title of the book is a reference to the cycle of violence and abuse that Lily is determined to end with her daughter. It started with her mom, and in the book, she visits her mom and reveals the truth of her relationship and pregnancy with Ryle. And while she fears her mom will encourage her to stay with him, she instead tells her to not be like her. Overall, the book provides a more thorough exploration of these themes, particularly those of abuse, love, and healing. Lily's inner conflicts are much more nuanced, and the book's pacing really allows for a richer emotional experience for readers. The ending, though bittersweet, feels much more authentic to the story's central message about self-love and breaking free of toxic cycles. While visually striking and emotionally engaging, the movie just doesn't do justice to the book's more profound and gritty exploration of the character's trauma. The film sacrifices some of this complexity for the sake of pacing and clarity, making it less satisfying of an experience for fans of the books. From what I've read and seen from fans of the book, I would say that the novel version of It Ends With Us definitely outshines the movie. But let us know in the comments what you thought about the film and the novel.